So, Matt Cauble, co-founder, Soylent and Kin, can you give us a 5-minute bio with your significant career milestones, including what got you started making bevies? Because
Yeah.
it wasn't the normal way people get started.
Yeah, totally. So out of college, my friend and I, Rob, decided that we wanted to start a company. We just were young and knew that we could do whatever we wanted to at that point.
Yep.
So we were like, all right, let's just move to California. We don't know anybody out there. We have no idea what we're going to do, but we're going to move to California. We're going to try to start some companies.
LA?
No, actually San Francisco, Bay Area. First place I
Okay.
moved to was Pacifica, which turns out to be the worst place to ever move to. So don't do that if you're thinking of doing what we just did.
Yeah.
So we moved out there. We tried to
What
do
is
this.
Pacific?
Pacifica is like a coastal town, like 30, 45 minutes outside of San Francisco.
Yeah.
And there's no one there. And like,
So like a Santa Cruz kind of thing, but not as cool.
yeah. But like quiet. Yeah. Not fun. So we were there, we were like living in this like furnitureless apartment for a summer, trying to like build apps. This is like summer of like 2011.
And then what was any direction there? Is it just like, let's try this idea?
We were like, oh, let's, we're in a college. So like, we loved reading and books were a big thing. So like, oh, let's make like a Netflix for books. Let's make like unlimited reading service. And this is like before
book flicks.
Yeah. Book flicks. Yeah. We were like building up, like Rob was like coding up like an app in order to read. And like by the end of the summer, we had built this like really fantastic tool, but like no one cared or wanted it, of course. Yeah. So Rob actually went back to college for his last year, and I tried to like figure out what we were going to do.
Right. Did you graduate or
I had already graduated.
Yeah.
He had taken an extra year because he did like co-op or whatever.
Yeah.
So like end of the school year, Rob is like presenting it at school, like this concept of like a cheap wireless network infrastructure. So we built like a $600 radio that could actually like beam out like the entire like internet, like ICP, like ISP connection. And it was really cool. And the whole concept was like, let's just deploy this in rural areas and like, especially Africa that needs more internet connectivity.
Yeah. Was
power.
It like a mesh network, or was it like you connected it to a wire and then it beamed?
It was a wire and then a beam. And
so like a longer range Wi-Fi.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And it's like, you can mesh them up and like create this whole network.
Yeah.
So, I was surprised, but because I was like, oh, this is so hard to build. Who's going to believe that 22-year-old college kids could do this? So like, you got to be like 10-year entrepreneur minimum, like with experience and money to do this.
Yeah.
But YC loved the idea, and I think they loved us, especially, and they accepted us on that idea.
Yeah.
So we spent the entire summer trying to build this radio, like designing like board, like getting those fabbed out in Santa Clara.
So you made a proof of concept that worked, and then you're like, we need to make this mass market.
It was actually pretty funny at the interview during YC. Like they tell you how difficult the YC interview is, and I've done other ones and they are more difficult, but the one we had was particularly easy because the people at YC at the time, because it was still small, were all software people,
right?
Except for one hardware person. And they were just like so gung-ho about the concept that they really didn't try as hard. So we were like, shoot, once they saw that we brought the radio, they were just like, yeah, you guys are.
Sold.
And so
you guys actually brought the radio.
Yeah, you guys actually built something. This is amazing. Like everyone coming in there, is like doing like an app. And it's just like, oh, we're going to get 1 million users. And they're like, how are you going to do that? Who's your market? Whatever. They didn't even care about any of that with us.
Yeah.
There was no like idea of like market or anything. They were just like, this is so cool. Like, just come on in. There was actually another guy in that YC app that got in on a sort of similar thing, but he was just really cool and hilarious. He had built this app called Brain Tripping. And it was like now this is like very popular because of like OpenAI and all these concepts. But he was kind of an early developer of like creating like an AI persona. So he had like done all these like Steve Jobs and like Benjamin Franklin, whatever, George Washington. And the app was you literally just like convert your text and it makes you sound like a person.
Right.
So if he got into YC, that doesn't sound like a business. Right. But people were like, this is funny and whatever. Let's just see.
Yeah.
So,
and they love those like it's almost like one of their criteria is like, does this sound crazy to a lot of people?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
especially at that time.
Those are the big ideas.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, so we were doing a lot of that.
Yeah.
Should I be looking at the camera? Or that?
No, it doesn't matter. I mean, it doesn't matter. Like the video is part of it. But I think most people just listen to the audio.
Yeah. Cool. All right. So by the end of the summer, we got to demo day and we were like the last ones to present, I think. And we got interest from some great firms like Andreessen Horowitz was super interested and General Catalyst. And like we did pitch meetings with them, but ultimately they were like, I mean, we just don't get it. Like,
Right.
this is cool, but like,
Yeah.
what is this going to be? Like,
Yeah.
how are you going to make this a business?
Yeah.
We didn't really have an answer for them.
Yeah.
Even after all that time, because we'd focused so much on building the product.
Right.
So by the winter, we were like, okay, let's just move to San Francisco. We were very frugal, very frugal. So like, we didn't go out, we didn't eat. Like, we were living on probably like $500 a month each. So we like moved up to San Francisco with still nothing, and 3 of us packed into a 1-bedroom apartment in the Tenderloin, and just started like packing away things. So like, we were working on like a Twitter bot service for marketing. We were working on a virtual machine, like virtual desktop environment. Like the concept of like, what if you could just like fire up your browser and be able to do like, insane graphic, production, or like insane video gaming home. So like that idea of like cloud gaming or cloud like desktop, like in 2012. And Rob, who like was on the side just working on this concept of like breaking food down into its like micronutrient components, and then like living on those micronutrients for like micro and macronutrients for like a full 30 days.
Yeah.
And he blogged about that. That ended up blowing up and becoming what the company is, Soylent. And we raised a bunch of money. We, had one of the most successful food crowdfunding campaign of all time. We were doing like 30 million in revenue in year 3 or 4, all e-commerce, which was like
amazing.
We were talking like Red Bull, like e-com managers who were like, how are you?
Yeah. That's amazing. How were you doing it?
I mean, honestly, it was Rob is such an interesting person.
Yeah.
And he was just out there telling a great story. But the story was resonating with people. It was hitting, I think this is like the peak of like organic farm to table, like concepts. And it was just like flying directly in the face of that whole idea. So it created this amazing polarity between people, and it always was a discussion.
Yeah.
I was always fascinated about any time I was at home or anytime I was out and people wanted to talk about it. It ended up being like very long discussion because they had very passionate opinions.
And best fucking name of all time.
And the name.
It's just so incredible.
When you're talking about,
go ahead.
Yeah. When you're talking about like the days, like people were not buying Facebook ads aggressively. It was still the days when you could like launch a watch company on Facebook and sell it for $300 million. So like, it was such an open space, and we weren't buying any ad, but this is like those days when like clickbait was still getting started. So like just the name Soylent would get so many clicks and likes and comments that it was just like
incredible. I just remember the first time I saw it, I was like, this, it's like, I had a similar reaction to when I saw Liquid Death for the first time. I was like, this is the best branding play for its space you could possibly do. It's like, 500 waters competing on how pure they are in this one that says death in a can.
Yeah.
It's like, it's just so amazing. And like, so it's kind of like the same thing. It's like, wait, I know what that is. Holy shit. That's an amazing name.
Yeah. And I would say the second, Rob is number one. And the second, reason for the success is just, boomers cannot help themselves from saying, have you seen the movie?
Yeah.
Do you know what this is? Cannot help themselves from making that comment online. And it's just like, thank you for that. Like,
it's like, wait, it's like,
Booms.
It's like, no, we just named it this.
What does it mean?
Yeah. What, it just sounds a good thing.
We just went in the dictionary and put our fingers down twice. Hit soy and lentils.
Oh my God. That's so good. So like, Rob definitely sounds like an interesting character.
For sure.
He was sitting there breaking food down to its micro component. Before that, did you have any interest in that type of thing?
So I grew up, like my dad was very into nutrition and very into vitamins. So I'm taking like my whole life I've been taking vitamin C and omega-3 and like.
Yeah. And do you believe in it, or you just, is it like religion in your family or whatever? You just go to church because you go to church. And
I question everything. So the vitamin C stuff, I questioned hard, and sort of like religion, I rebelled against it, but now I'm like full circle back. Vitamin C is one of the best things you can possibly do.
Yeah.
And, but yeah, like my dad would buy like, I remember went to Costco and got the juicer and like made me like a carrot celery like juice or something. And like, so like I grew up that nutrition in college. I like got in shape and like, ate lean and all that stuff. So like I had done, vegetarian and pescatarian and things like that. So I had always done some kind of dieting,
Yeah.
and Rob had never done any dieting of any kind in his entire life.
Yeah.
Thought the concept was ridiculous. It was always funny to see him like react to like people dieting, and he just thought it was stupid, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So he never really cared about nutrition. So it was really helpful for him. I think this is like sort of true of almost any space of like, if you can like comment something as an outsider, but you bring a skill set, like for instance, in this case, this is software electrical engineering. If you can look at it for the first time, then you can cause a lot of damage. And that's what Rob did. I would never think about it because in my world, I have control over my nutrition. Like I'm not worried about it. But in his world, it's like, okay, I want to be healthy. How do I do that? I'm going to apply my skills to doing it.
Right.
And he did, and he created what is like a very novel.
Yeah. I mean, there's just no way to like get above, call them marketing messages, like whatever you have been absorbing your entire life. You're so shaped by that. Right. Like it's
for
just
sure. Like Rob had never heard of like meal replacements. Right. Like he didn't know that existed.
Right.
Like he didn't even know about insurance or anything.
Yeah.
Things that like I knew about, was aware of because I like did workouts in college.
Yeah.
But yeah, so because he had like that novelty to like look at something and that skill set to do it in his way, he created something like it.
And was the original formula like pretty much what it is now? Like it was, you know what I mean? Like, what was
so the original one, I remember trying it for the first time and it was so horrible.
Yeah.
And when it started getting a lot of interest in the article being shared and Rob's getting all these interviews, this is pre-product, like anything. I was like, there's no way this work because it tastes so freaking terrible.
Yeah.
Because like at the time he was putting a ton of like fish oil, like directly in, and like all these other things that just like did not taste good together.
Yeah.
But the product within 2 months, Rob had gotten it to a point where it was delicious. And I remember the first time that I had like, maybe like he set up the idea of like software engineering, like V1, V.1, V.2, V3, and like had a beta program and everything going of like people trying. And I remember like V.3 or something, V.2, he had like fixed so much of the flavor issue and just loved the taste of it. We were running around one day doing all sorts of work and I like drank a full one. And I remember actually feeling euphoric and realizing like the whole story that was being told about this. No one is actually getting all the nutrients they need. Like it is physically impossible for you to eat a healthy enough diet to get all the nutrients you actually need. And I realized in that mode of drinking this Soylent that like, one, it's delicious, and two, I feel so good right now that I like just explode about this experience.
That's a great story. And then from like, was a lot selling before that version, or was it still just like very pilot?
Yeah,
that was pre. So you had something that you loved when you launched it.
Yeah,
so like the mass market.
Yeah. So then I took over. Rob was so busy with like interviews and everything that I took over the product development beta program, and we actually grew that beta program through YC and other people in the Bay Area to like a few hundred people, like 300 people who were paying. So I was very adamant about making them pay because I think the only way you get
totally. I totally agree with
so
that.
They were paying their monthly. We were in like a warehouse that we rented out in Oakland, just like mixing the stuff and shipping it out at USPS like every Wednesday or something like that. People were absolutely loving it. Like if I could go back, I would say we should have probably just tried to scale that experience.
Yeah.
This like very DIY-y, like their underground like experience was really great.
Yeah, like that's the story. You know, people feel like they're participating in that.
Yeah, like you're part of a grassroots movement.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, like, and you would go to like people's houses, you know, our friends' places, and they'd have this product that I like just handmade in just like 2 days before, and there was like something very rewarding.
Yeah.
Seeing. So that we had to shut that down, and they got really upset. Remember?
Who's they? The people,
the beta customers. Yeah, we had to shut it down because we had to start transitioning to like mass production at a facility. So,
but so like the regret is not that you transitioned to that. It was like that should have remained the story.
Yeah, exactly. We should have just.
And
Yeah.
you should have like been making basically false media around the 10 bottles that you're producing at home when you're sending 10 million out from the real factory.
We should have never stopped. We kept trying to bring it back later, and it never.
Yeah.
Because we had such a core group of real parts that were.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the beta program was growing like 10% weekly. And that was like not a business. That wasn't our business. That was like a thing that we needed to get the product better. So we like did these iterations through the beta program to get it to version 1 so launched.
Yeah.
And the feedback was so valuable and that experience was so valuable. We got such a great door and we continue to iterate on it. And the product that you have now is so different from that product because that was a powdered product and the ingredients are completely different. Costs and price point are totally different. I mean, so now I think it's down to $1 a day. Like then we had to charge something like $6 a day or $8 a day, which we thought was still a deal.
I mean,
but like
great deal versus eating in California.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Yeah, you know. So now the product's got the power. It's so cheap.
Yeah. What about when did the name happen? What?
Yeah. So I remember Rob was like drinking the sludge, which I think is what he called it, or maybe we called it that, but that's what it was. And we watched the movie Soylent and Kin, and like, you know, had a laugh.
Right.
And then Rob, I think Rob just named it in the blog. His first blog.
That is totally awesome. It's so great. So it doesn't sound like there were many other finalists. It was just like the sludge and then like, oh, this should be Soylent.
You got to remember that we were working passion projects. So each of us had our passion.
Yeah. This was his.
That was his. We weren't really, and I believe this is actually how you should do things. Someone needs passion for, and they need to sort of take control. I think by committing to goals.
Yeah.
In the early days, especially. And so it was his passion. He named it, and there's a question. Yeah. Some people were like, oh, you should change.
Right. I mean,
you tell them.
So did you so one of these questions that I wrote down was like, when you're sitting there learning about things that are good for you, was there any like interesting, startling, remarkable sort of like revelations that you had as you were learning about it, trying to concoct? When you took over product, presumably part of it is like, you know, the inputs were not necessarily in their final state, right? Like you're continuing to explore optimal nutrition, right? Like, is there anything that like sticks out that you think is like wildly misunderstood that like, you learned or whatever, you know, so like that's the essence of this question.
Yes. Yeah, so like there's lots of experts in nutrition who don't really have much to back up their opinions.
Yeah.
And they have wildly differing opinions about what is optimal.
Yeah.
So early on, we had to make a decision about which one of these scientific bodies between like FDA, USDA, like Medical Association, Europe, like Europe's whole like system of food matches of the US's. Which one of these people has, you know, the one to follow? And we ultimately settled on the US Medical Board because our thinking was like, these people have like, there's all these studies to show like these micronutrient deficiencies lead to these problems. This is how much of the micronutrient deficiency you need to solve.
Yeah.
I found out since then that like the vitamin D requirement, minimum vitamin D requirement, like people always say like, oh, make sure you get 15 minutes of direct sunlight, or you need to have like 500 IUs vitamin D. It's based on a study where the assistants moved the decimal place over to the left 1, and the actual number is you need 45 minutes of direct sunlight, and you need 5,000 IUs.
Wow.
Like vitamin D. It hasn't been updated.
Right.
And that's just, you find out like these weird things like that with like who do you trust? And then you find out in that process how many things people are deficient in.
Yeah.
So like most people are deficient in magnesium. Most people are deficient in vitamin D. Almost everyone is deficient in potassium. Like, okay, potassium.
Yeah.
It takes 8 or 9 bananas to get enough potassium. No one's doing.
Yeah.
So like you learn that like there's like this concept of like food, which is great.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's also this concept of like your human body and what it needs.
Yeah.
And those two things.
Yeah. And where, so like vitamin D, presumably when we were cavemen and we were just outside and getting it, like potassium, back then we must have been getting it from somewhere.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of stuff you get from the earth.
Yeah.
So we don't get much from the earth anymore. And it's actually our water supply. So like water you used to just like drink directly out of a stream.
Yeah.
Now water picks up a bunch of minerals.
Yeah.
A stream. So you're drinking like living water.
Yeah.
And now we just like purify our water so much.
Yeah. Cause you can't drink the beaver piss or whatever. It'll like give you like whatever it is.
Or algae or whatever bacteria is in there. So,
yeah.
Soylent is like the most, it was always funny to us because people were complaining about the sterility of Soylent.
Yeah.
But we've already moved towards sterility.
Yeah.
Sterility is the norm.
Yeah.
Like you may pay for that fancy experience to get the non-sterile.
Right.
But like for 95% of your intake, you're getting a sterile experience. So wouldn't you rather have the optimal sterile experience than the suboptimal one?
Yeah, it's an interesting. And then it just seems like once you start going down that road, it's like such a rabbit hole. Like even just that first thing that you described of like, well, which body of peer-reviewed studies and philosophical alignment are we going to choose to sort of be our
guide,
North Star or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
Whatever. So wild.
Yeah. The other thing you learn about food pretty early on when you're doing it is that the FDA doesn't care. So like people we learn this all the time because like reporters would constantly ask us like, what do you do?
Yeah.
And we'd have to like explain to them the FDA doesn't care. Like when it comes to food, they're a passive body. So they don't even do like approvals for anything like that. What they do is if they get enough complaints, they'll investigate you and make use. But their whole business is drugs. So they don't really care.
Yeah. Wild. So Rob, interesting dude. I remember you making a comment when we were talking with like Tiro at Lou's house that he wanted to do flavors like gasoline.
Yeah.
And then when I was thinking about these questions, I looked at the Wikipedia page and whoever put that together, like put these like decidedly like negative quote, it's almost like marketing the like, it's like, a New York Times quote about how it's just tastes disgusting or whatever.
So that's a really fun one too. This is like why I always believe I learned very early on about like all news.
Yeah.
Practically. And one of those lessons was from the New York Times, was one of the only one that posted a very negative review or negative opinion about Soylent. And I remember the day that it went live, something like it drove $8,000 in daily name. Just that article.
Incredible.
Negative article.
Yeah.
And you can't lose.
Yeah. Incredible. But like flavors like gasoline, like, so you said the philosophy was, he's like, your body is a car, you need to put gas in it. Like, did that was there ever a goal to like, so like, I think part of what people like about green juice is it tastes like shit and they're like doing something good for themselves, like taking medicine.
Yeah, for sure.
So like, is that what that's about? Or is it like,
I think Rob was very good at thinking about, he had built this feedback loop around, if I continue down I continue doing the things that raise eyebrows, I'll continue to be successful.
Yeah.
And it's true for sure. And he probably didn't even think about it. You know what I mean? But like, that was like his environment telling him.
Totally.
And so, he would like wanted to do like gas. He wanted to do like fresh. He wanted to do like Bird's coffee instead of regular coffee.
Yeah.
Like things like, and his ideas around that direction were like, if we can pull off something that actually tastes decent and you tell people what this is the direction, like if you sell like Soylent and it's a gasoline flavor,
Yeah.
that you drink it and you're like, that doesn't taste
right.
like it's fine, then it's a hilarious coup to like get people to drink gasoline vapor.
Yeah. That is, I'm glad I asked that question. That's funny. So my understanding was a lot of coders drank this. Is that right?
Yeah,
just
early
because
on.
of the nature.
Early on. You got to remember though, coders, especially then, I'm sure it's true now, then the nicest jobs and the nicest offices.
Yeah.
There was plenty of like, what we found more is like passionate people really liked it because they were so busy that it had time to go into the like mess hall of Google.
Yeah.
But like a lot of coders had
great setups.
They had like 5-star chefs.
So is there anyone who has only had Soylent as like 90% of their diet since it's launched? Is that a thing you can do? There's people who just switched off of food to this thing.
There's a bunch of people that did challenges for 3 months.
Yeah.
I think I've done like 2 months while I put on like 20 months. I lost like 4,000 calories this month.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Did you feel good?
It felt amazing. The hardest thing is just, what I realized in that experience is just pick your favorite.
Yeah.
There's a guy right now actually in Philadelphia, and follow this, but there's a guy in Philadelphia that eating rotisserie chicken every single day, a whole rotisserie chicken.
Wow.
Every single day. And he's on like day like 40. And people gather it. It's this guy, this rotisserie chicken.
Wow.
And it's just like, I know what he's going through.
Yeah, he's just like, I can't.
You pick your favorite, like, like, oh, I keep tuna from sushi or something. I promise you will not eat it.
No, I know what poor Bonnie just like is not excited about her farmer's dog anymore.
Yeah.
Like we gave her farmer's dog instead of Berkittel, and the first day she ate it in like 3 seconds and was like gasping for air and like burping and stuff. And now the poor thing, just like she has to be famished to want to eat that stuff.
The longest thing
that's my dog, by the way. Bonnie. Not my wife or daughter, right?
The longest living cats were all owned by one guy. They like lived their 20s, late 20s, 30s. And
yeah.
Cats. And they're like, what do you feed them? And he'd like, whatever I'm eating. So they have literally like coffee, bacon, eggs, like burgers, whatever he's eating. And there is something about like the variety and also like the connection.
Yeah. I like that. I'm going to play this back for Helen as far as okay, so parlay that into Kin. What was the transition?
Yeah, so I left Soylent in 2016. Some of the other crazy ideas we had so many beyond just flavors for Soylent.
Yeah.
We were pitching this company as like the future of, like we were going to build out an entirely new food chain, because the other thing we had learned about food is that protein is extremely expensive. It's really actually difficult to get quality protein outside of pork. So like getting sustainable protein is like huge.
So like chicken is not good protein?
Chicken's decent protein, but
it's just not as good as
the beef or pork. You're still missing some key amino acids. It'd be better if you could get those, but like beef is a complete mess. So like we were like, okay, there's a huge opportunity there. There's a huge opportunity for also just food distribution. So like we were even joking about buying. The Army had just released like a bunch of drones, decommissioned pair drones.
Yeah,
and you could buy one for not much, at a couple $100,000, and it's something like it's 1,000 kilo payload.
Yeah,
you could drop like 1,000 days of soy.
Yeah,
on like a remote area.
Yeah,
these drones.
Yeah,
so like we had a bunch of concepts. I even did like a full thing going to Haiti, like a disaster zone, and like getting Soylent to people there. So like we were playing around with all these concepts, and then it became very clear to us, by way of like a little bit slowing of growth and like a little bit of trying to figure out which way to go, that there needs to be like a focused food company front.
Yeah.
And
focus, man.
Yeah, focus is key.
Like you said, when we were eating lunch, it's like, get to 100 million revenue first.
Yeah.
Then worry about it.
Exactly.
But like when you're at like whatever, we're at like 13 or 14. It's like, if I did anything other than get to 100 right now, it will not work.
Exactly.
You know,
and
neither will work. Like the 13 will
you
stop.
won't get anything.
Yeah, exactly.
You'll get nothing. And that was a huge discussion at Soylent, and I'm very annoying because I will just hardline my opinion and will not waver on it.
Yeah.
And this is one of the opinions that I just have. It's just like, you should just focus on the thing that works.
Yeah.
And you just need to like tool.
Yeah.
Because we all want to do those things. Yeah. But you need a sustainable to do those things. So that created this rift at the time that started to separate all of us. So we all sort of, over the next 18 months, went off and started.
Yeah.
And I was the first one. And I knew when I left, probably wanted to do some food still, just because there was so much fury that I saw. And I actually met Jen right after I left. So she was like one of the first people. And she was doing something completely different from me. But we had this amazing first conversation that trended towards her recognition that at the bar, there's no opportunity for a woman to like, and like there needs to be, and she called it this potions.
Yeah.
That was like beauty booze for girls time. But I thought that was a really interesting idea. So over the next few months to a year, I thought about it a lot and thought about just in general, also like stress and depression, sort of the modern things that are like leading to that.
As you're sitting there going through it all.
Yeah. As I'm going through massive depression.
Right.
And loneliness. And it's sort of the same concept with, I think, how Rob got into soy, because Rob was thinking about weight problems and diabetes. And a big part of the soil pitch was like, there's, 45% of the country is diabetic or pre.
Crazy. Yeah.
And, like, so I was thinking about like depression is like growing. It's getting worse. Not getting better anytime soon.
Yep.
And like, how do we like put a stop to it? And alcohol like makes it worse. So the good part about alcohol, like people get together because it's really important, community and social connection. But bad part of it is it screws your brain.
Yeah.
So, going back to the time I had Soylent and it was like a euphoric experience of just getting the nutrients needed. I was like, you probably could just get the nutrients that you're missing and maybe some other things that work that help too into some sort of social beverage so that you just would want to drink it with your friends and you would over the long term feel better.
Yeah.
Instead of feeling worse.
Right.
So I went,
not even like the long term, like the medium term.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
like the next morning you would actually feel better and not destroyed. Right.
Well, and my expectation was just like, feel something immediately, but not too, like, doesn't matter what, just feel something.
Yeah.
And then like, just continue to want.
Yeah.
And like share it. So Jen and I got together to actually make this product, and we tried hundreds of different, very similar to Soylent early days, of hundreds, thousands of different formulations. A little bit more difficult because there isn't like any sort of body that helps you with like go this direction with your formulation to create this experience. To like piecemeal together like research to find like different ingredients that were good for. I broke it down to like the brain has serotonin, it has dopamine, it has GABA, it has all these different things. So like how, and what is alcohol doing to them? And can you find other substances that have effects on those channels?
Yeah.
So like it was a very like intense research figuring this out process to get to something that had an effect on the brain that made you feel like happy and social, confident, awake.
Yeah.
But like, which is a very like hard quadrants to hit.
Yeah. Daunting. I mean, daunting with how little we understand about how it works and the brain works anyway.
Oh yeah.
So you're sitting there making potions.
Yeah.
And then you end up being married.
A few years.
And have a drink company.
Yeah.
Like what was the
how did we get there?
Yeah. What was the sequence there?
So we launched, we ended up raising money for Kin. Originally, I wanted to bootstrap it, some of the money out of soy.
Yeah.
If you've ever run a drink company, quickly how expensive drink company.
Yeah, very capital intensive
Very.
relative to this software thing I
Yeah,
do
yeah,
on these screens where it's like, well, I have a laptop and then I have a monitor and then I got a podcast
You
set
have
up.
it made.
And
This is
then
what I want to get into.
and then I got a podcast set up and that's it.
Yeah.
You know, that's
like
the whole thing.
95%
Yeah.
profit margin.
It's all that you need.
So nice. No inventory.
Right.
Yeah. Like Mark Cuban just said it recently on Shark Tank. He said, in a beverage company, you're going to make $50 million and you're going to spend $50 million to get there.
Yeah.
So like, I didn't have that much. So it became very obvious within 6 months of trying to bootstrap a drink company that this going to work.
Yeah.
So we raised capital from some really great tech people who saw the opportunity here to create. We were like going to create like this call replacement full on.
Yeah.
And like actual feeling and experience. And they love the concept. They love the product, especially, and they loved us. And yeah, that's it, baby. That's it now.
You can't go close because I don't have autofocus on.
It's not. I'm gonna put some googly eyes on here, so it'll focus on it. So we ended up launching a year after we raised. I think we launched in 2018. So this was one of my favorite like experiences. These 6 months were some of my most accomplished time considering my career. So like my dream of launching this product was like very much like Hunter S. Thompson sort of like drug induced.
Yeah.
Like that was like my dream idea, like some way to like create like basically sell this. It is a drug, but it's like a good drug.
Right.
And like sell this as a drug.
Yeah,
and
like in a briefcase, like Fear and Loathing stuff.
Exactly. Yeah. And we happen
pop
to
open the trunk, like
yeah, exactly. So we happened to get this Vogue editor, Vogue writer, who was like family friend with one of our employees, who like sat down with Jen, had a whole like kin, like took it home, drank a bottle, like wrote the article on kin, wrote this amazing article, and it turns out he was like Hunter S. Thompson's protege.
Yeah.
So he like wrote this incredible. If you go read it, it's still amazing. It's still a great article. Yeah. It's our first like Kin Vogue article, and it's just this awesome, like experiential like writing about what Kin did to him.
That's great.
And
did he like take a large dose?
Yeah, he drank a whole bottle, like a whole bottle of the concentrate. So it's like 12, 13 doses, and
that's a lot of doses.
At the time, we were putting this will dovetail into my other great career. We were putting this supplement called Phenibut in the product, which is like a GABA agonist. And you take Phenibut, it will make you feel amazing. Like you will feel confident, very much like a couple of beers or something. Yeah. And so that was in the product. And so he drank a lot of this and felt noticeably incredible.
Yeah, yeah.
So product launch, lots of interest, very similar to Soylent early days of like e-com revenue growth, natural, like sort of like press just spreading like wildfire. And 6 months later, we finished what I think is my best product I've made, which is Kin Spritz. Yeah. And that launched in that summer. And at the same time that this was launching, my third great career accomplishment happened, which was the FDA cracked down and officially banned Phenibut. Thanks to
wow. Yeah.
So it's now Phenibut is now officially a drug.
Wow.
So I got the FDA to make a drug.
There you go. Do you think that the product would have more virality if it had Phenibut in it still?
Yes. But I think it would have more. I don't think it would be good.
Right.
I think what we've made is perfect.
Yeah.
So what we've accomplished here is like true. If you drink one of these a day, your life will be better.
Yeah.
I can guarantee that. I could not do that.
Yeah. And like, if I have a dinner that's going to end at 11 o'clock, I just put 2 of them in the car and drink them on the way over. And I'm good to go. Great. And I can still sleep. You know, it like just gets me, you know, maybe I'll take like some like, magnesium when I get home or whatever to like sort of ease into it.
Every time I have a social gathering, every time like hanging with friends for dinner, or like going out for whatever, like I'm drinking a spritz or 2.
Yeah.
Cause you just feel like, I mean, everyone feels tired after working. Like everyone's tired, especially socializing.
Yep.
And you can't just drink caffeine to fix the desire to
Right.
socialize. Like caffeine
Yep.
just makes you like
Jittery.
oh, wait,
Yeah.
this is like you feel.
Yeah. So one last thing on this.
Oh, then Jen and I got to finish.
Yeah. Jenny, yeah. What? How did that happen?
So we were,
tell
like,
us the heart wrenching romance.
Yeah. So we were just colleagues for 3 years.
Yeah. Build up, huh? Jeez Louise.
Yeah. And
I had a colleague relationship like that one time.
Where you were just
the woman had a child.
Wow.
And we were just colleagues for a year and a half. Bananas. It was the weirdest. When it actually started happening, it was so unbelievable.
Was she
I
married?
would never do it again.
Yeah.
Like she was married for like the day it happened, she was married, and then she was not married the day after it. You know what I mean? Like it was one of those like very sudden, and it led to a horribly volatile 2 to 3 year period.
Yeah.
I was like together in long distance, and then a breakup for like 2 years, and then 3 really nice years together, actually. But it was just so unbelievable, you know, like I couldn't,
It's weird how when we were, so.
Yeah. Cause like, but it's just like depth of a relationship. Like who else are you going to connect with on that level? Yeah. It's like you spent time with people in college, but then you don't hang out with your friends that much, you know?
Oh. And how do you really find out if someone's going to make you sit?
You don't. Yeah. You just hope, you know? Anyway, so yeah, tell the story.
Yeah. So, we were just colleagues, and there was no between us, and she was with somebody, I was with somebody. So it was, I will say I don't recommend doing. I think it was really challenging. And I think most people do have these kind of male-female co-founder relationships have run into this struggles.
Yeah.
Just like, how do you speak to this person?
Yeah.
Like how you have the intimacy.
Yeah.
You without the encroaching on the, you have a boyfriend or I have a girlfriend.
Yeah.
Like, how do you like explain to someone you're going to go out with this person so like alone, even if it's just for work? All these sort of little things that start where you're like, this is cool. So
one way you do is you start a software business that's remote.
Yeah.
And the person lives in a different country.
I was trying to do remote work.
Yeah.
I was trying to make this remote work.
Yeah.
19,
right.
And just nobody was having it. So like very big philosophical differences.
Yeah.
And so but we always really enjoy, and what we realized eventually was this, we call this conscious copulation, where like really meshed ideas together, like sex.
Yeah.
We had like broad like decks, the yin and yang, these ideas form into like this complete concept.
Yeah.
So that I think was the beginning of our sexual attraction that we weren't even aware of.
Yeah.
But it continued to progress as we worked together.
Yeah.
So that when we both became single, we became extremely attracted to each other.
Yeah.
And just had this beautiful relationship. And realized actually very quickly that probably romance was destiny.
Yeah.
And we were denying it or, ignoring it for years.
Yeah.
And after about a year of that, I actually left Kin full time because just cared more about drugs.
Yeah.
And frankly, I've done all that I can with Kin because Kin Spritz is product I care.
Yeah.
I believe in. I think that it's Red Bull or Coca-Cola or anything like that. So this will eventually be there, and it doesn't need me day to day on it.
Totally.
And Jen is way more capable here.
Yeah. Interviewed Jen last week, by the way, if you want to hear her side of this.
I haven't listened to it, so.
Yeah, it's not out. These are still all like, they told me that they wanted me to record 6 or 7 of them so that like you could launch them all at once. So that if someone finds it, they could like go down a rabbit hole rather than just having like one episode and nothing else. So yeah, they're like chopping these all up. That's awesome, man.
And kids.
And now you have
Two
two kids.
kids.
I know I have one kid.
Life goes fast.
Yeah.
3 years ago, I was living in New York City, making these potions in an apartment, and now I'm here at Austin. 2 kids.
Jeez Louise. Well, we covered a lot of ground. That was really interesting. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm sure Helen will enjoy listening to this. Jen might enjoy listening to this. Possibly. Possibly.
I will be around.
Yeah, exactly. So 2 questions I ask all of the guests. If you could write one thing on a billboard for everyone to see, what would it be?
Don't be afraid.
Love that. I subscribe to that one as well. And then final 5, favorite book?
The New Testament.
All right. Like that one. Somebody you follow as CEO, follow or hold in high esteem, sort of figure that you think is worth.
George Washington.
There you go. You're married, you have kids, you live in Austin. Favorite vacation you've ever been on?
I don't like vacation.
That's an awesome answer. I get pretty sick of it too.
I
got pretty sick of it
I like
too.
going somewhere different.
Yeah. I mean, so Helen and I did this like nomadic thing for a while, and my last company was in this like really weird stage where I wasn't doing much, but like I felt guilty about it, like it's a strange combination.
Yeah.
And like we got in the habit of going places for a long time. And then when we didn't have kids, we'd be like, let's go somewhere. And it's like, oh, let's stay an extra 4 days and then combine it with this other thing in this other place. And like, 17 days would go by and we'd like still be in Tulum. And I would just be like, Helen, like, I'm so sick of being on vacation. Like, I can't even tell you. I just like want to like be back in a routine.
Yeah.
Totally.
Every time I've been on vacation, I mean, it only takes a couple of days for me to like start sneaking back in, I'm like back to jotting down notes and creating things, getting out of it.
But the Aspen routine we had, I did really like. It was just like,
you were working.
Totally. It was like 2 or 3 months we were there, and then we had friends come in on the weekends. So we didn't have friends there until year 4. So it really felt like this, in like 8 weeks is not a lot anyway. You have like 6 different sets of guests. It always feels new every time. And then you're like back in it on Monday morning and skiing every day. It was like such a cool
huge
combination.
Fan of changing your environment.
Yeah.
Places. It's super important. But like, like sitting and just
right. Drinking, whatever. Yeah. Well, dude, thank you much. This was amazing.
I had a great time.
I'm excited about all these. This one was particularly interesting.